Hi, I am here to give you information on how to hopefully end up with a not guilty verdict in a moving violation um, from what I got mine from a state trooper. So for me, that elevates it a little bit as far as law enforcement goes. I just think they're a tougher law enforcement organization to go up against. Um, I got my moving violation for not or for going through a stop sign. It was an area that I was unfamiliar with. I was working. It was a very odd intersection. Um, I was very, very nice to the trooper. He had options. He could have given me a warning. Instead, he wanted to give me a moving violation for an astronomical amount of money and with 3 points attached. Um, he was not sympathetic, not understanding. His demeanor really galvanized me to want to fight the ticket. Uh, and so I did. I did it without an attorney. I did consult an attorney who gave me terrible advice. I did a lot of research. I did write to know anything that I thought would help me in the fight to win this case. Um, Personally, I didn't like this trooper. I thought his quote unquote bedside manner left a lot to be desired. He really seemed to take it personally. So also when I was contemplating fighting, well, I wasn't contemplating. I knew I was going to plead not guilty and contest it. But I would tell people that this is what I was doing, and I was met with a lot of people were just astounded that I was going to do this. Most of the responses were I would just pay it and move on. To me, it's the principle behind it. It's also your right as an American citizen to plead not guilty, because pleading guilty and paying the fine, yes, that seems like a good recourse, but you're saying that you did it. And I did not do what Trooper Corporal Fry accused me of, and so I was going to take it to whatever level I needed to. Now, from my research in the state of Pennsylvania, by the way, I'm not an attorney. This is all done via my research. I was a legal studies major in college, so I do love the law. Um, and I feel that I do have a knack for finding, you know, areas to exploit to get the not guilty verdict. But I am doing this for entertainment purposes too, because I just do find it funny that some of these troopers take it so seriously. He had the option of giving me a warning, which is something that I researched. It is an option that they're trained with. It isn't a standard operating procedure in the troopers' manuals that a warning is a viable route to go, especially when there is ambiguity involved. When there's a question as to whether or not that person, because it is subjective, whether or not that person actually broke the law, they can give you a warning. And he opted not to do that. And that is an important document that I do want to point out, and I'll talk later on about. But this is going to be a few different parts. I'm going to start this part with, what happened, how offended I was by the whole thing. There's some sketch things that happened, like during the magistrate's hearing. I ended up appealing this because the magistrate did find me guilty. I appealed it to the county court and actually got a not guilty verdict from that judge. He wouldn't give a verdict that day. He needed to go and research. He was a very thoughtful, methodical, fair, well-spoken, well-educated judge that I was very fortunate to have him as my judge. He was patient also. I mean, I could just go on and on about what a wonderful judge he was. But here is the ultimate paperwork that I got in the mail. I have taken my personal information out, but because he would not give me a verdict that day, he mailed it to me, and boy, it was pins and needles and pins for a few days. You doubt whether you gave great testimony, or, well, it wasn't really testimony. I was actually acting as an attorney. I had to act as my own attorney. It was a full-blown hearing, trial, if you will, with a prosecutor. So, but anyway, that's further down the road. What I wanted to do first of all, I do love YouTube. I watch a lot on YouTube. YouTube probably gave me some educational pointers when I was looking to represent myself, and I love it. I think it's a great educational tool taken with a grain of salt. As far as having an attorney for a moving violation, I mean, you were there. You saw this happen. They weren't. And this is really a drop in the bucket for them. They aren't going to be passionate about it. I was extremely passionate about this. I knew the case inside and out. I did a lot of research. So I'm going to, and here I am going to show my moving violation. And I apologize. I'm not the most technological savvy person. I might end up getting StreamYard later on, but this is how I'm going to do my YouTube video, very OG. So what I would like to do is just show a diagram, because as I pointed out, this was not your typical four-way intersection. This was a two roads converging on each other. And one of them had the right-of-way, which is where the trooper was, and one of them had a stop sign, obviously, which is where I was. So because it's a little convoluted and ambiguous, I'm going to draw a diagram. So the trooper was coming like this. 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Here is the trooper, and then I am coming like this. I hope that can be seen. Let me move my computer. It's not real easy to see, but so I'm coming here, and we meet right here. I have a stop sign. I have a stop sign, and this is my car. So the trooper was coming this way. I was coming this way. Also, the stop sign is very recessed, and according to the Pennsylvania statute, you can stop farther back where the stop sign is. Then you can actually move your car and then kind of stop again or kind of merge into the traffic. So that's what I did, and he didn't see me stop way back, thought I was continuing through the stop sign and violating that statute, and then he initiated a traffic stop right over here. But I mean, it was 25 miles an hour that he was supposed to be going, and my biggest question was, why would I pull out? I saw him coming. I can't remember if it was a marked or unmarked vehicle, but it doesn't matter, because it's very obvious that he was a police officer. So again, here's the trooper. Here's me coming up to the intersection. He is moving 25 miles an hour, no stop sign. I stopped way back here because it's on a major curve. He probably didn't see me stop, but saw me kind of coming through this stop sign. So he initiated the traffic stop. I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't see it, I didn't say I didn't see it, I just said, I'm really sorry. I did stop at the stop sign, and so I'm just looking for, let me see, the story. But anyway, he came to my window. There was just no explaining out of it. He was going to give me a ticket. I yes sir'd him. I apologized, and that was about it. I mean, there wasn't much conversation. I did tell him I was working. I was doing a gig. I was delivering some boxes, and that was pretty much it. I did ask him where I could fight this, and he did tell me the local magistrate. And the tickets now that you get from state troopers, they're printed out in their vehicle. They have forms attached to them. It's all very succinct. You can detach it from that ticket. So I then sent a not guilty verdict into, or that I was pleading not guilty, into that magistrate. I then got a date for the hearing, and so that's when I started doing a lot of research. I unfortunately waited too long to get the body-worn camera, but I really don't think that would have helped me that much, because I don't know if he had it activated as he was going around that curve, because he didn't expect, to initiate a traffic stop. And the conversation, was really very tame. There was nothing questionable about how he interacted with me. So, but what I did want to get were logs as to what he was doing in that area. Was he ending his shift? So to me, that might have said, hey, he was in a hurry to get back to his barracks. Yeah, so the body-worn camera I don't think would have done any good. The logs, I did right to know those for the troopers, their right to know officer, and that came back as they I don't think they really understood what I was asking for, but I was just looking for some sort of documentation that he must do, like when he goes out on his day to start. I think he is a traffic corporal, so he is driving around looking for traffic violations, and I just wanted to see what kind of documentation he had when he initiated the traffic stop with me. That came back a no-go. Body-worn camera is a no-go. I did look up the statute for going through a stop sign, and as I said, it does say that you can stop if it is a recessed stop sign. You can stop, and then to be safe, you move further out into the intersection, looking to ensure that you can move into oncoming traffic, which is what I did. But that is a stipulation in the statute, so I think it's important that you read these very thoroughly. You digest every word in the statute, because they're written in a way that it is interpretive and subjective. So I made sure when I was in front of both judges to say, hey, it does have this accommodation that once you do stop and it's not a four-way intersection, you can inch up and your car is actually moving, which to that trooper looked to him as though I was blowing through the stop sign. One of the best tools that I got in a right to know, because as I said, I didn't get a lot of documents, but the one thing I did get and I requested was the standard operating procedure for a trooper to initiate a traffic stop. And okay, so I'm going to read. It's called Uniform Traffic Law Enforcement 7.01. The purpose is this regulation is to establish policy for uniform traffic enforcement. So it just basically says, you initiate it. There is no substitute for sound judgment. In many instances, members must draw on their training, experience, and sound judgment to arrive at the necessary conclusions to take appropriate enforcement action. Violators shall be handled uniformly regardless of their position, meaning if they're military or if they're legislators. But then now it goes down to 7.03, and it says warning. That's letter D. The tracks police warning notice or the police warning notice shall be issued to a driver who has committed an act which is less than a clear-cut and substantial law enforcement offense. And I can tell you that I don't want to get into the appeal yet, but I'm not sure if I asked that during the magistrate's hearing, but I definitely asked Corporal Fry in the appeal why he didn't do that, and he really had no answer. So anything to initiate reasonable doubt. He did have options, and he chose to instead issue me a ticket. So that is a great resource. The judge loved that I had all of these documents and had done this research. It really lended to my credibility. But that is, and this is the state of Pennsylvania, so it might not pertain to your state. But, I mean, it says, yeah, it's called FR 6-7. It looks like it's a law that was initiated 323 of 2010, and it's called Uniform Traffic Law Enforcement, and we're at 7.01, and it goes up further. So if you wanted to write to know that, to have it in front of you that it is an option for the officer to initiate a warning. I would kind of highly recommend too. I didn't have the wherewithal. The whole thing kind of caught me off guard, to record it. It really helps. I didn't do that, and I'm usually very good about wanting to initiate something like that. But yes, I would definitely record it. So even if you can't play it in court, you can go back and hear what the officer said. Again, try to exploit anything that's going to cause reasonable doubt in front of the judge, because that is your key to the golden ticket. Is you got to exploit and bring up reasonable doubt that that they cannot prove, the state, meaning the state cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed this offense. One interesting thing that did happen during the magistrate's hearing was that the trooper wanted to admit my prior driving record, which I found ridiculous and highly offensive. And there, from what I understand, an attorney did tell me that it can be considered hearsay and not admissible. I was like, I'm a woman who has been on this earth for a long time. Of course, I am going to have some moving violations in my past. And what does that really have to do with what just happened? But that was at the magistrate's level. He did not do that at the county hearing. And the reason I brought that up is because during the magistrate's hearing, I actually couldn't believe this, but Corporal Fry actually went back to the intersection, and after this had happened, like, it would have taken time to go and find the sign. He said that there was a warning sign that said you are going to be approaching a stop sign. That was neither here nor there, because I didn't go through the stop sign. So him using that as his defense, I don't quite understand. But the fact that he took the time to go for a moving violation, to go back and try to see if there was some sort of warning sign, it just infuriated me and made me even more entrenched in fighting the ticket.